Are you a fan of the show you're listening to right now? If you said yes, then why aren't you signed up to Headstuff Plus? This summer, level up to superfan status and unlock bonus episodes for this show and all other shows on Headstuff podcasts, ad-free listening, and early access and discounts to live shows. Whether you're jetting off, on a weekend break, or soaking up the sun in the garden, Headstuff has your summer covered. Go to headstuffpodcast.com and use the code SUMMER to get your first month for €1 plus VAT.
Smart Water Alkaline with antioxidant.
Whoa, that's refreshing.
And a 9.5 plus pH for every way you move.
I did take a Spain class today.
Restoring like a pro. Smart Water Alkaline with antioxidant. For those with a taste for taste. Grab yours today.
This show is part of the Headstuff Podcast Network.
Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome back to the G-Spot. I am your host, Grace Alice, and I have a fantastic episode for you today with the lovely Sinéad Crowe. Sinéad is one of those guests who comes into the studio and says things like, I'm not sure how much help I'll be, I don't know, will I be able to answer your questions, etc., etc. And I feel like these guests are always the people who have the most valuable insights and the best tips and loads of wisdom that they just maybe weren't being asked the right questions, because Sinéad gives so many good pieces of advice in this episode. She has lots of would you say insight into all things body image, because she is an intuitive eating expert and educator, and of course body image hugely plays into our relationship with sex. And she's also been married, I think she said 23 years, certainly has been together for over 2 decades, has 4 kids and has a lovely happy relationship, but is very honest in how they have made that work. Also how libido and sex and desire plays into all of that, because long-term sexual relationships can absolutely be tricky at times. So I've no doubt you're going to enjoy it and learn from it. Please do tell a friend. You probably have lots of friends who would benefit from, again, the gems of advice that Sinéad shares. Rate us 5 stars, of course. Leave a gorgeous review. Don't forget the bonus episodes that come out every week, and enjoy your trip today to the G-Spot. Welcome back to the G-Spot, everyone. And I'd like to welcome a friend of mine, Sinéad Crowe, to the G-Spot. You do many things, but the thing I know you for, I suppose the way I came across you, is you run the Instagram page Intuitive Eating Ireland, and you do loads of work around intuitive eating. That's fair to say. Yes. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Delighted to be here up in Ballyaglia.
Yeah, I'm so happy you came up, genuinely. So yeah, that's how we connected. We did an Instagram live as well. That was a while back though. I'd say that was 2022-ish.
Or even 2021.
Maybe before.
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about, I was only kind of discovering intuitive eating, I think, around then, or like the concept of it.
Yeah.
And it'll probably come up today at some point. We're talking about different bits.
Yeah.
I know it's not all you want to talk about.
No.
Do you ever get sick about talking about it?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, yes and no.
Yeah, I know. You're probably not supposed to say that. But
but it's so true, because I feel like that, over the last couple of years, the first couple of years, I felt like it's all I wanted to talk about. But like, of course, my own personal growth means things have expanded for me.
Of course,
so you then do have other areas where you're like, I'm really interested in this at the moment. And that's just how my brain works anyways. I love something for, it's not that I'm not interested in intuitive eating. I obviously work in the area. But you're so right. I love to talk about loads of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just one topic. Yeah.
I'm the same though. Like, I wouldn't say I ever get tired about talking about sex and intimacy in general, but there's some like topics within that where, again, it's probably just how my brain works, where I'm like, I feel like I've said that already. Am I repeating myself?
100%.
But then, you're finding new people all the time, I suppose. Like, new people are coming to your page or your podcast or whatever it is, and it's new to them. Like, it's not new to you, but it's new to them.
Exactly. And like, it's to remember that it's probably brand new information to some people. Of course it is. And they find you because like, even this morning I had a lady ask me like about intuitive eating and how can I do that to lose weight? I've been asked that a million times.
I've literally even seen you answer that a million times.
A million times. And, you know, it's not that I mind anybody asking. Anybody can ask. Of course they can. But I do have to remind myself, that, you know, people are very new and don't know and they don't know what they don't know. And I'm here going, God, I feel like I've said this like so many times. But
I know.
You're still happy to come back and try and give people the information as best you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I've been asked, like sometimes I'll get asked a question and I'm not judging the person that's asking me it. I'm just like, oh my God, are we still there as a society? You know, like I got asked recently at a women's event, like, should we be masturbating? Like, is it okay? I'm like, oh my God, like it kind of makes me sad. I'm like, I know. Of course it's okay. I'm nearly losing my voice. I'm like, of course it's okay. It's brilliant if you want to do it. But like, it's just like, again, I feel like, oh God, I'm going to go into spiel and repeat myself. But you have to meet people where they're at.
Oh, 100%. And I do think that it takes time. It takes time for change to happen. Like we're not talking a couple of years. We're talking decades. True. Like that's the reality. So to us, if you're in an area and you feel like that you see some things moving along and then sometimes you're jolted back going, actually, no, we're still have a lot more work to do. It's that reminder, isn't it?
Definitely. No, as you said, decades. It takes a long time. And we're not saying that in a negative way, a positive way, because we're moving in that direction.
Well, even like when we look at healthcare, the research would show that like when they prove things in studies or whatever it might be, by the time it gets to the doctor's office, it takes 17 plus years. So when you think about that, when they're doing like, you know, it's just mad how it can take nearly 2 decades to actually filter down into patient-doctor conversations. Yeah. So just goes to show we do need to be patient. It takes time.
No, we definitely do.
Yeah.
So I suppose speaking of things that have changed over time, sex education is one of them in Ireland. I would say for adults as well as young people, because sex education isn't just for young people. Yeah. But did you get any of it growing up? Did you get any formal sex ed, or how did you learn about all the
How did I learn about it? Now, I have a shocking bad memory, so I'll tell you what I can remember and what I know. I grew up in a house of 4 girls. I'm the eldest. I remember... you know, I remember like growing up, my house would have been very kind of like, you know, there was no hiding of bodies. My mother was always very comfortable. You could often see her. She could be in her bedroom naked and you could walk in. There'd be no like, oh, you know, covering up or anything like that. But I do remember when it came to, like, I was much older getting my period. I was nearly 16 and my sister had gotten it, my younger sister had gotten it at 11. Oh, wow. So like she had it about 3 years before I did.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was such a gap. Yeah. So I think I learned from her. Do you know what I mean? She was so young. So I'm not sure how she learned, but I think I learned from her. And because I was that bit older. And in terms of sex ed in school, like I definitely don't recall anything being in school. I'm pretty sure I was handed a book. By my mother, I'm pretty sure, from what I can remember.
Most people say that. Yeah. Most people sit here like, I was given a book.
I think there was just a book on my bedside locker at some point. I don't know how it got appeared. There, but like, just
the
appeared.
Sex ed fairy.
It's interesting though. I do feel like I could have asked any questions if I wanted to. I just don't know if I really had any. I'm not sure. Again, my memory is shocking. Maybe I did and I've just blocked it all out.
But sometimes, we don't know what we don't know. Like, you know, we actually don't know what to ask. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Like, I remember when my period came when I was 16, I was on holidays. We were in France camping. And my mother was like, oh, we're having a dinner to celebrate and like that night.
Oh my God.
Mom was like, we'll have a dinner to celebrate. And, you know, it wasn't a big deal, I guess. I was very lucky to have that kind of, there was just a nice feeling around it. I never got a sense of it being like you know. Yeah. And I think actually it worked fine for me. I was a tomboy. I was very much, I don't know what that means now, but if I can say that term, but
yeah, you can.
Growing up, like I was very much into sport and I didn't want boobs because I was playing sport and I wanted to run without any boobs getting in the way. I didn't want a period because that would interrupt with sport.
Of course, yeah.
So I think at the time I was quite happy that it just hadn't come and it was fine when it came, then it was grand.
And it's interesting because I think there's research that shows that a big chunk of girls and adolescents withdraw from sports.
Yeah, because of that.
Because of probably their periods, but also body image concerns is something that, like, just this becoming very aware of how our body looks rather than what it's doing. Because when you're playing sport, it's like you're using your body is powerful. But we become aware of, or maybe self-conscious of how it looks.
Yeah. We were talking about it in the groups, and I was saying, like, but the other side of it too is I remember being the girl on the camogie team that there was one pair of shorts that were kind of bigger than the other pairs. And a few of us would have to race to fight to get that pair.
Okay.
Because they don't make this, like, in terms of diversity on our camogie teams or any other sport, you know, we're not all the same size. Yeah. But there was always a one size for that age group, under whatever.
Okay.
And one pair of the bigger shorts that I remember, like myself and my sisters, we probably were all playing together. We'd be like rummaging in the bag trying to get the bigger jersey and the bigger pair of shorts.
And also the darker colour shorts. Are good because if you do get your period, like, it's just that added layer of comfort that if there is a leak, or there's just something about white shorts that it's just like the horror. Now look, we need to normalise it as well. People leak, like, it happens, but
Absolutely.
You know, just to enhance that comfort. Like,
I leaked all over the place on my run last weekend. I came back, all over the place. Down the road, and I was on the way home, and I was like, oh no, I can feel something. Came home, and I was like, literally leaked everywhere.
But you can have a period for so many years, and it can still, like, just take you by surprise, or you time, like, that happens to me where I, like, you know, time the changing of the tampon or pad badly or whatever, and I'm like, oh my God, again, like that waking up, I'm like, how did I manage this?
I know. It's like this has happened every month since I was 16. Literally. Like, what's going on?
I'm still not prepared.
It gets me caught out every single time. But
So then, okay, so you didn't get a whole lot of, let's say, formal sex ed that you can remember, which you probably wouldn't have, though, because a lot of us wouldn't have, but you had a book, and, you know, I think that family environment sounds actually really nice, like, you know.
Yeah.
And then looking at, because I've heard you speak before about, I suppose this is part of what has led you to the intuitive eating work, right? That, like, you would have tried every diet under the sun. Like, you would have spent a lot of your life, essentially, or certainly as a young woman, dieting.
Yeah.
First of all, how long was that period where you were in that dieting? And I know your sisters were as well, where there's some of that you were kind of in it together almost.
Yeah, we were like totally diet bonding, you know. It was like,
that's a thing, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I went to Weight Watchers at a young age. I think I would have been about 16, 17. And then right up until I was in my mid-30s. So I'm 41 this year. So I suppose, I'm free from diet culture bullshit for probably about 5-6 years now. 6 years, I think. 2018. But when I kind of came across intuitive eating for the kind of, I had come across it in earlier years, but I just wasn't ready. I was like, no, I'm going to wait. There's a diet. I just haven't found it yet. And there's something out there that's going to make me very thin. So I kept going, but I came back to it in my mid-30s and went from there. So essentially in 20 years, I spent dieting and just trying to make my body as small as possible. Yeah. And I suppose it probably, like, what really catapulted it, I suppose, body image stuff for me was, like, the first diet's always easy. I remember going, like, you know, it's easy peasy. You lose weight immediately, and you're thinking, why didn't I do this before? And it's all great until it's not. And then we know the backfire. You know, obviously the appetite increases. We tend to gain weight back. We feel like a failure. We feel overwhelmed. All of these things. And I remember going, obviously at a young age, like, into the meetings every week, into Weight Watchers, standing the scale, and it was all easy peasy. And I would have lost quite a bit of weight. And then I fell pregnant at 19. So when I blamed pregnancy, I was like, my God, pregnancy is the worst thing in the world. I've just, like, ballooned. But actually what it was it was a total rebound. I had been dieting in Weight Watchers, and it was just like I was sailing along. And then all of a sudden got pregnant, obviously wasn't dieting no more, but the appetite, like, shot through the roof. And I gained a huge amount of weight in my pregnancy. And I suppose, it was from there then, that really was what kind of shot me into the many years trying to, you know, lose the weight, lose pregnancy weight, and my body never looked the same ever after that. I'm sure it still doesn't. I've had 3 more kids since, and your body will never look the same after a baby. But I didn't understand that at the time. I thought, no, I see people talking about you bounce back, you can lose this weight, you know, but everything looks different. Your hips, your skin, your boobs, your everything, your belly, you know, it all looks different, and it's meant to. Yeah. But I didn't know that at the time.
I know.
So I spent years trying to remedy that and fix that as best I could. Yeah, like things like so much so, like where I would have been on a list for a number of years trying to get like breast. It's not called reconstruction. No, I called that the wrong thing. I think I called it breast reconstruction one day, and somebody said, no, that's after you've had like a mastectomy or something. Yes.
Was it a lift or
they were gonna basically bring them up from my waist. They were gonna bring them back up to here and point them nipples outwards. Because my nipples were facing right down. And they still are. And they're absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, that's fab. So you're going to hoist them up.
So I was going to. And they rang me twice to go in. And I didn't go. I was pregnant one time, I think. And then it was funny. After starting this work, I realised, take me off that list. Yeah. Like it isn't an external thing. Yeah. I learned how to shift how I saw my body, which meant I felt differently about it. I was viewing it through a very different lens. Yeah. And I realised, no, I'm not going to risk surgery for this. I don't need to. I can be okay with these breasts that have fed my children and done all these wonderful things. And I've made peace with that. So yeah.
It's a mindset real shift, isn't it? Like,
it is,
rather than changing. What I'd like to know is, I suppose, how all this interacts with your feelings, say, around sexuality. So for example, right, like you talk a lot about being on diets and in that and trying to make yourself smaller, whatever. Now I did get to that point, but when I was a teenager, I was so thin, like I was just rake thin. Again, just very naturally thin at that time, in the sense that I'm quite, I don't know what height I am. I'm 5'7", 5'8", roughly. And I was that as a teen. Yeah. And even my face, like, I have this big mouth and big teeth and kind of big enough eyes, but I had this little face. So like everything was kind of like, you know, when you're growing into yourself. Yeah. I look back like so awkward looking. That's fine. But anyway, I thought I was jealous of any girl who was bigger than me. This is the whole thing of you're never happy. Because I was like, oh, like being skinny and being thin is so unattractive. Like men, you know, you had the thing of like men don't want bones, they want steak or something. Or they want meat, they don't want bones.
Okay.
Or there was some phrase that was used. It's stupid. Yeah. I'll have to look that up. Or, you know, a real woman. Yes. Womanly. And I always felt so unwomanly. Yeah. Now, things kind of swung the other way then later in life, where I was in my mid-20s, and now I started gaining weight anyway at that point, like very naturally again, like it just happened, because it happens. You just gain weight. Your body changes, but also there was a sexual assault basically, and I wasn't coping with it. And now I look back, I was literally just eating just as a way of, you know, comforting myself. And I put on a lot of weight quite quickly. And that was the first time where I felt really judged for being bigger. Yeah. So I wouldn't say I've been on two ends of the spectrum, because I still fit into, I think, what society would see as like whatever average size. I know this language is really, really kind of...
Oh, it's challenging.
Yeah, so it's hard to say the
what's accepted by our society, the beauty ideal.
Yeah. So basically what I'm trying to say is, when I was thin, I saw myself as like deeply unsexual and unsexy and undesirable to guys. And then when I was bigger, I kind of felt the same. Yeah. And I'm wondering, is that something, you know, when you were like thinking about your body a lot and how it looks and doing the dieting, did you ever feel that was for the approval of men or women or both? Or like, you know what I mean? Can you remember thinking about any of that?
I really can't.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I really can't.
Fair.
Like I said, I was tomboy. Most of my friends were the guys. I hung out with a lot of the lads.
Okay.
Obviously, some girlfriends we still have from that age, that time in my life. But like, you know, I don't recall that. And like the first boy that I ever really fancied is now my husband.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So like when I and I remember when we met, I was like, I'm going to be going out with you. I just had it in my head. It was very whatever. Yeah. But I don't really remember thinking I need to be smaller for not consciously.
No,
but of course,
fair.
unconsciously, it's very possible that was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But I don't think unconsciously. I don't think consciously. I was thinking that. I think I would have probably less so around the men piece. It was more, where do I fit in? Like more the comparison trap with my friends.
That's so. Yeah, so I'm the opposite.
Yeah,
that didn't worry me. It was the boys, how they viewed me, that worried me. So this is just
Yeah,
interesting.
no, totally.
That, you know, both of us feeling shit, but just focusing on different.
Like I felt like with the lads, that was never the problem. I didn't feel that was the issue. I was like, no, I do. I'm okay there.
I'm hot.
I was.
I'm right.
But I remember
I've just found my husband. I literally just said hello. And
sure, I remember the first night we went out and we must have had a kiss, and I remember him dropping me home, and he said, and I said to him, imagine when I look back at it now, sure, if you said this today to some lad at night or whatever it was, 18, sure, he'd probably run a mile. But he dropped me off and he said, sure, I might give you a call during the week. And I said, well, we're either going out or we're not going out.
I love that.
That's what I said
we need more of that energy.
And he
That's
said, will
great.
you go out with me? So I said, sure, I will.
Yeah.
That was it.
Fab.
Anyways, but I think it was more like I would look at my friends, and I was always the kind of tall, I was broad, I was well, you know what I mean? And my friends just were much slimmer than me.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, but they look better than me. I want to be kind of slimmer like them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But again, I can't acknowledge that there was this real, drive from that end. I just feel, I just I can't recall.
Fair. And then in your relationship, so you've been together then, we were trying to do the quick maths.
23 years.
23 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So a lifetime you've been together. That's
Yeah.
incredible. Something that comes up, I suppose, in my work a lot is like women, and it kind of feeds into the dilemma that we're going to get to in a minute, but women feeling like, oh, when he met me or married me, I look like this, and now I look like that, as in, this isn't what he signed up for. And I literally hear that language. This isn't what he signed up for. Yeah. Not just at weight, it comes up with other sexual stuff as well. But and it kind of makes me sad because, in my view, when you sign up for a relationship, for want of a better word, you're signing up for things will change, people will change, bodies will change. There's unpredictability in it, right?
Yeah.
In your relationship, have you ever worried about that at all? If your weight has fluctuated, or if you look, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, has it worried you?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'll tell you a couple of things that come to mind.
Yeah.
First of all, I would have projected a lot. So because I was in a smaller body and kind of like to the outside world, everybody thought I was really healthy. I ate really well. I was, and even to my husband, like at the time, he wouldn't have known that to the extent that I was struggling internally. And I would have projected my own body stuff onto him. So I tried to control his weight and his body.
Right, okay.
So that's how I managed that.
Interesting, yeah.
But I remember, because we were going to break up when we were in our mid-20s, but we had a child and we had Keane at the time. So we went, and I remember saying to him, like, before we decide to make a decision on this, will we do some couples work?
Yeah.
So we did, and we drove from Galway to Drogheda for about a year. Yeah, we found a lady up there, and in fairness to Dec, like, he was only in his 20s and to be going off doing this work. It's brilliant, and it still stands to us to this day, because I learned about love languages. I remember all the stuff that we would have learned that was really helpful to us to understand. Like, he's very tactile, very the kinesthetic, he loves touch, whereas I am not at all. At all. It's like the conversation piece, the words, yes, but it's the doing. I like to see something done.
Okay,
you don't even need to tell me about it. You just, if I see it done, I'm like, oh, that's it.
Great.
Just empty the dishwasher. And we will go upstairs, I promise you. But I remember one of the biggest learnings that came up for me was, again, when I was in my 20s, after Keane, a lot of body changes. And I did come to the surface, of course, in the therapy that, I wasn't feeling like, I felt like my libido had nosedived, and again, maybe putting that down to, like, is that what happens after you have a baby? But actually, no, it was how I was feeling in my own body. Yeah. And sure, of course, all this came up. And I suppose the work that we would have done then was around, and this is what I suppose therapy can help with, is that I learned to, and she would have framed it in the way that in the sessions, like, even if you don't believe, can you trust what he's going to say? So, and then he would say about what he felt about me and my body, and how he felt towards me and how attracted he was to me. And even if I didn't believe that for myself, could I lean into trusting that could be true for him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if I didn't feel like that. And that kind of shifted things for me for a bit, because I was like, okay, maybe I don't like how I look in this position or in this way or in, in this angle. But like, can I trust that he doesn't give a shit? Yeah, I can. Yeah. Actually, I can lean into that a bit. Now, that took work. That didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That took time.
Absolutely. That's something I kind of try and encourage people to do, is trust.
Okay, yeah.
Trust your partner. Even beyond that, I would say even trust your close friends or whoever, if they compliment you or if they say something they like about you, or if they say, because they're going to see things in you that you just will literally never be able to see because you're in yourself, like, you know. So I think that's actually a really good point around, you know, even if you don't really feel it and believe it, just like, but maybe they genuinely do, and that's okay. Yeah. I'm sure if you kind of, rather than rebounding that straight away, if you kind of even just start to let that settle over time, then I'm sure it does eventually sink in. Yeah, like, definitely. You need to work at it, actually. It does take a bit of effort. Take time, to shift into that place, for sure. Like, it's not going to be the first time you hear it. Oh yeah, I can just now switch on the button of trust. Yeah, you know, but it's like letting the seeds drop in and keeping, I think, the communication piece, like the dialogue, being able to talk about it, you know. Right. In a relationship 23 years, I do want to ask you, because that is like, and I don't, when I say impressive, I always say, you know, we shouldn't be measuring a successful relationship off of how long someone's together. Sure, of course. You know, of course, people can be together for 50 years and be miserable. But, yes, of course, you know, you're not miserable, I assume. So, no, 23 thankfully. Years, you know, solid relationship. I'm sure you've had ups and downs. Plenty. And I'm sure we'll have many more. Yeah, but what, and I know this is a big question, but what do you think are maybe some key things you've learned at working at, like, really sustaining a relationship long term? Because 23 years is a long time, like, it is. Yeah, no, what comes to mind immediately is laughter, fun. Like flirting, teasing, like, you know, pulling the piss out of one another, basically, and having a bit of crack. Fun for me, like, I still laugh at Declan every day. And I hope he still finds me funny too. Yeah. I think over the years, what I have learned is important for us is that I feel disconnected every couple of weeks from Declan, and have done since we met. And that's usually as a result of we don't have much time together. So every couple of weeks, and this still happens to this day, I'm like, oh, I feel a bit irritated by him, and he's annoying me, and I just don't feel like I want to, you know, jump his bones, whatever it is. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since the two of us had any time to ourselves. Now, if I wasn't aware of that and we hadn't kind of, you know, maybe done some of that work, I could maybe wait another 4 months and 6 months and we don't organise a date night, or we don't organise a time for ourselves. Like, life is busy. We have 4 kids. He works, I work. We both kind of essentially have 2 jobs. He's a farm and I, you know, and like every day could be consumed by the everyday tasks, the mundane stuff, the boring stuff. And there's always a reason to do other things with the children or whatever it might be. So for me, like, I will notice every couple of weeks, I will feel that disconnect because we have not had any time together. So then we'll organise something. Like, and it can be something as simple as we'll just go for a walk, the 2 of us in the evening, just the 2 of us. And that will immediately, I will feel that kind of emotional connection again. He doesn't notice it like I do. I feel it. I feel it. And then you see, when I feel that, I'm more inclined to kind of withdraw a little bit from him. Do you know what I mean? And as I said, he'd be much more tactile. And if I'm feeling disconnected, I'm like, no, I'm not feeling that. You know, so I know then we need to reconnect, and then that comes back. So I think that for me, it's the time together, and to do that as often as we can. We try to do something every couple of weeks, and little bits during the week as well, but maybe, like, you know, a night away, or just a couple of hours in the afternoon. Let my sister or Keen maybe might take the kids for a few hours for us, do something together, have like similar interests. I think having stuff that you're both interested in. Because I think I see this all the time with, like, lots of mammies where, you know, we have kids and our whole world becomes our children. And again, look, at everybody can have their thoughts on this, but I guess I remember
doing some of this work again in therapy, and I remember her drawing out the therapist drawing out a diagram, and basically she said, like, when you and Declan came together, let's say you're up here at the top, and what happens is that then when you have children, and let's say you've got one down here, at the bottom, little triangle that keeps, little child, here's Keen, and now you're in this triangle, and usually what often happens is that we move the child up here, and we move the husband moves down, right?
Okay, yeah.
So we've got Mammy and child at the top, and then Daddy down the bottom.
Yeah.
And we talked about how that, like, that might be fine for a little while, because of course when babies are small they need their mammy so much and all of that.
Yeah.
But if we don't shift that back at some point, well, what happens? The disconnect can grow. Daddy might find other things that he's interested in. Do you know what I mean? It might be whatever. It could be coping with anything, alcohol or gambling or being disconnected from the family home or whatever it might be. And mum is putting a lot maybe of energy into babies and the minding and the nurturing piece. And she would have talked a lot to us about, like, bring that back up, where we basically bring Daddy and Mammy back up together. And the most important thing for a child is that they have that foundation, that solid foundation.
Of course. Yeah.
I think I've carried that through all these years to say, I know my kids will always be okay. This someone's like, ask me, who's your favourite in the house? The kids will ask me, like, who's your favourite? And I say, Dad. Jesus, Dad.
Yeah.
By a long shot. You're not getting a look in there. Dad's my favourite. He's who I started off with.
I know.
He's who I'm going to hopefully finish with in this lifetime.
That's lovely. And that's so important, because I think I'm not a parent, but I see the parent and particularly mom guilt that creeps in society, where mothers are always like made to second guess everything they're doing. And, if you do anything that's in any way, seen as not being, an amazing mom to your kid all the time. And like exactly what you said, I think mothers then are so focused on, again, like they have to be to a certain degree, right, with their children. But like there's a guilt then if, like, maybe I just want a night away with my husband or my partner, or, I want a kid one day, give the kids to the grandparents or whatever. Like I need, again, I think that's conditioning as well by society of like, oh, what? You don't want to be with your kids all the time?
No, I don't.
You don't all sleep together in the same bed every night?
No. And that's okay if people want to do that.
100%.
Yeah.
It sounds like hell to me.
Yeah.
But like, I totally get that other people would, but as you said, you started out together. There's the two of you, and you're the foundation of your family.
Yeah.
Your relationship
totally.
And it's that role, those roles of like, okay, you're both parents and you do that together and you're a team. But you were lovers, you were, romantic partners before that. And you still are, I'm sure. Yeah. But
thankfully.
that existed. Yeah. And that's so important.
Yeah. No, it really is. I think the mom guilt can cripple women, I think, not just from their own lives in terms of like what they deserve, but also I think it does definitely impact relationships because of like that, been able to say, no, actually it's okay for me to leave the children and go on a date for a couple of hours or whatever it might be. I'm sure all of my kids will have something to talk about in therapy in years to come about my parenting. I know that I'm not doing a perfect job, but I'm quite okay with that. Like I really am. Like I know that there's times where I'm like, I've got like, I do work too much. I know that my daughter would love if I was spending more time and doing more things. I do as much as I can. Yeah, and you have to, well, a lot of people do have to fill their cup up outside of the home as well so that you can show up better in your family and in your home. It's funny, I remember a teacher in school, she had a few kids and someone asked her, because she was just back after having her most recent child, and someone asked her, oh, do you wish you were at home with your baby? And she's like, Jesus, no, I'm delighted to be here for the break. Like, she was thrilled to be back at work. Of course, you can go and eat your lunch and go to the toilet in peace and no one hanging off you. And like, it's great.
I'm a firm believer that when it comes to sex, there's always more to learn and always more to explore. And that's why we have weekly bonus content of the G-Spot available when you sign up to Headstuff Plus. So that is double the episodes. And not only do you get all of that, but you also get access to all the bonus content of the other Headstuff podcasts. You get ad-free listening, and it's an amazing way to support my work, which I really, really do appreciate. You get all of this for just €5 plus VAT per month, and you can sign up by going to headstuffpodcast.com. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the episode.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
Okay, brilliant. So I'm going to read out a dilemma that I think relates to kind of what we were chatting about there. So, dear Grace, Alice, and Sinead, obviously, any thoughts on how to navigate completely different libidos in a couple? I could go weeks without it, but my other half would like it multiple times a week. Been together 15 years, have 2 kids, still very much love my partner, but feel this is something that we're very apart on. So, 15 years, and you're together with your partner 23 years. I mean, one of the most common questions, hands down, I get is how do you keep, let's simplify by saying a good sex life alive in long-term monogamy, like a long-term monogamy committed relationship. Yeah. And they're longer term than ever because we're living longer than ever, right? Yes. So, we're living hopefully well and healthy into our 80s, 90s even. So we're really talking a lifespan possibly with someone. Yeah. So any thoughts, anything you've picked up along the way that has helped? Now I know she's on about different libidos, so touch on that
well,
as
I would say that we have different libidos for sure. I definitely think that mine is lower. It is lower, there's no thinking about it. But I know, again, that's something that's really important. Like physical intimacy is super important. It's important to me as well, but I think that it's a big part of, it's really important to my husband. And I suppose, what are things that help? I mean, I guess, are we even having conversations about that we have a difference and that we're feeling maybe a bit different about this, and maybe the underlying reasons as to why you're feeling maybe, when our libido is low, it can often stem not so much even, it's not about the other person at all, we're often disconnected from ourselves. Yeah. So can we start with that? Where can we begin, reconnecting to yourself as a starting point before you even move over to partnered intimacy? So where are you on that journey, with your own body and exploring your own body? And again, even what's it like to rub cream on your arms, your legs? Yeah. Starting sometimes with the basics, just that reconnection piece. I mean, other things that I suppose I have found over the years is that, what are the things that maybe are going to make you more inclined in any way? I find I love to get a text message during the day. Yeah. It's very basic. Hey, how's your day going? Something simple. I'm not talking big romantic gestures or anything like that. It's just the basics. And it just, for me, sets that little spark of he's just thought about me. Yeah. Isn't that nice?
And he's connecting.
Yeah. It gives me a little bit of that's nice now. And, so again, I don't know if this speaks to anybody else, but sometimes I find I can often not be in the mood. But sometimes I'm not saying now force yourself if you're really not feeling it. But I mean, I can often be not in the mood, but 5 minutes in, I'm in the mood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So sometimes it's a bit revving things up. I just need to kind of, and we joke about that. I say to him, you say to me, get out of your head, telling you that this is not what you want to do. Because I know you're going to want to be doing it in about 5 minutes time. I know. You are going to come around. Yeah. And sure, I always do. And he's right. And then we have a laugh about it. If he makes me laugh, this also helps.
Oh, 100%.
We can have a laugh and it's not that awkward, I know, conversation. Sometimes laughter helps.
It does. And that comfort with that person. Like there's obviously so much context we're missing here. Like we don't have, there's so much information from this person. But like you've touched on a few things absolutely there where, that thing of getting into the mood, like that responsive desire, like that's what it is.
Is that the official name for that? What I just said?
So,
good
whereas
to know.
like
I'm learning from you.
Declan might, I have no idea, but he might have spontaneous desire.
Yes.
Where he'd kind of
he definitely
get
does.
turned on. Yeah.
You're
like, yeah.
That's what I'm going to tell him he has tonight.
Yeah, Stu.
Go away with your spontaneous desire.
So he gets turned on and then he comes, he initiates basically. I'm being, again, this language is so clinical. But, he starts things going, right? Whereas, so desire first, pleasure second. Whereas your pleasure first, desire second.
Right, yes.
So you start to experience pleasure and then your desire builds. Right?
Yes.
So both types of desire are completely fine. It's just understanding that both exist and that putting aside time to be intimate. It doesn't have to be sex, but to be even physically intimate.
Totally.
Take off your clothes and get into bed naked and have a cuddle even.
Yeah.
Like just, and it, again, without this huge expectation that it has to lead to sex. Is she enjoying the sex they're having? I've no idea.
Yeah.
If she can go weeks without it, now I don't know, but it could be possible that, well, maybe she's just not having, maybe it's not really fulfilling.
Maybe it's not doing it for her,
And in which case, the more you enjoy it, the more you're going to want to do it a bit more. I will say, when he, he'd like it multiple times a week. I had, and I'll totally put up my hands here, I had such an unrealistic idea of what sex was going to be like in a long... Now, I'm only with my partner 5 years, but it's the longest relationship I've been in.
Yeah.
But like, I came into thinking that basically 5 times a week, we'll just kind of keep going at this pace, in the early days when it's like there's loads of it happening when you're first getting together. But then... you obviously, things happen, you move in together, just your roles slightly change, whatever. And I had to have such a chat with myself over Grace, calm down. Yeah. I actually don't need it 5 times a week at all.
Yeah.
And I think for him, it could be look, if you do want to have sex a few times a week, absolutely, that's fine. But for some people, it's like our eyes are bigger than our stomach. When you're not getting any sex or having any sex, then it feels like, I want it, I'd have it so many times a week.
Every day of the week,
But actually, maybe once a week, he'd be delighted with that possibly.
Yeah.
So do you know when she describes completely different libidos?
Yeah.
But you're taking it to kind of 2 extremes where actually you could probably find somewhere in the middle that you'd both be happy with.
Because maybe she might have a part of her saying, well, geez, don't start at all now, because if you start having more, then he's going to want even more. And what does that mean? And then I can't keep up at all. So it's I'll avoid even going there at all. So I'll hold back completely.
Yeah.
And the longer I keep this off the table, unconsciously you're thinking that's safer for me. But actually, is it?
Yeah.
And what might that mean,
And if it's the thing where it's I could go weeks without it, and I see this cycle happening where weeks do pass, no sex is happening, and then it's usually the woman, I'm being very heteronormative, but this is how it usually happens when I'm working with people, she'll say, okay, I better do it, you know? And then she does it, and I'm like, okay, nothing sexy about that whatsoever for you. That's not, you're not looking at your pleasure, your arousal, what facilitates your desire. It's just becoming this obligation.
Yeah.
And that's what I wonder. I mean, I don't have all this information, but I'm wondering, is that the pattern that is playing out at the moment? Mm-hmm. Because as well, what you're describing there nearly is that all or nothing approach that I don't want to give them the wrong idea. I don't want to set up too many expectations. So I'll withdraw almost completely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because sex doesn't have to be the full shebang, penetrative sex every time.
Yeah.
It can be, like me and my partner do loads of other bits. We might actually just do hand stuff one day, or we might use a toy another day.
Yeah.
Or we might, sometimes when I'm okay, I don't really feel like having sex, but let's do something just physically intimate. Let's give each other a massage or something.
Yeah.
If sex becomes more like that, more like a menu, that you can kind of pick bits from, it's much more accessible, it's less daunting, and it's more pleasure focused.
Absolutely, you're just less kind of overwhelmed by it. I think what happens is your head gets in the way the longer it goes on.
Yeah.
There's more and more stories. It feels more intense, I have to, that like you said, that obligation piece. Mm-hmm. And Yeah, well, you're not going to have great sex if it feels like a complete obligation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's it.
That's
a turn off in itself.
I was laughing there. You'd mentioned toys. I took a notion a couple of years ago. Sure, bought loads of gadgets and bits and bobs, thinking this would be great crack. Sure.
Yeah.
And which some stuff was fine, but I was laughing because I must have came across something in the drawer. I came across one of them in Declan's side of the drawer recently, and he said, "We better put that joke up on Dundee. It hasn't come out of the box in a while." I just had that thought in my head when you were talking about the toys. But anyways,
I know you
we
should
might
see
come back and root it out.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I suppose the line of my work, like I have so many toys. Like we have painters coming in soon. I'm like, I actually am going to have to move boxes of them up to the attic. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so all that to say, I think differing libidos is not the end of the world. No. It's how you navigate it.
Yeah.
We don't have all the context, but looking at the quality of the sex you are having, right? Yeah. And it can take time. It can take trial and error, but like you're probably going to be able again to meet somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. Kind of multiple times a week versus once every few weeks. For one, it's not a sexy word, but compromise to be had there.
Yeah.
Like there is.
Yeah.
And like, she said, that she still loves her partner very much, all of that. So like, obviously there's a good relationship there. Absolutely. So sometimes it's just learning how to talk about these things. There's a good book as well. Have you heard of Come As You Are? Do you know that book?
Yeah. Who wrote that?
So Emily Nagoski.
Yes.
That's the responsive desire. But so she has a new one called Come Together, I think, that is specifically targeted at couples. Okay. So even like picking something like that, looking at it together, because it can be hard to know, okay, but what do we actually do?
Yeah.
You kind of have to make a plan as a couple of, what do I need? You said the text during the day or the bit of flirting and laughter.
Yeah.
Like he mightn't be aware that there's things outside the bedroom that he could be doing to help you lean into desire.
And I think those things really help.
So important.
Like so important.
Yeah.
I would definitely don't underestimate those things.
Okay. And then just ask, because again, you're just such a busy lady. I know that's an overused term, but you're a busy lady, busy woman. busy. You 4 kids.
I really don't want to be busy. I'm really being mindful to be less busy in my life.
Sorry, I don't mean it as a slur.
Not at all.
But no, you have 4 kids. You have a full-time job and you run like and it's not just an Instagram page, like it's a community. Like, you do more than just post on the page. Like you're engaged with a community. So basically you have a full schedule. So I would ask, maybe as kind of the final question, so making time, particularly for sex and intimacy and that kind of pleasure in such a full, busy life, do you have any kind of like practical tips for people? Because I get this question all the time and I'm always really conscious that I don't have kids and while I'm very busy myself, it's a whole other layer having children to look after as well. So anything popping into your head?
Because the thing is, we're never going to tick all the boxes. So like what I would say is that like, my life is full and I am trying to be much more conscious about, not that there's nothing wrong with being busy, but I'm very aware that, my nervous system needs more downtime and my family need me to be more downtime. So it's definitely a priority. But having said that, I still jam-pack my schedule. It's still pretty busy. So what I would say is that like, for me, things that come to, like something that comes to mind is that like, I would have I want the quality like of my relationship I want it to sustain that. And I know that a big part of that means prioritizing intimacy and time together. And it's a bit like movement and exercise for my health. Like my house is not perfectly clean. I'm not going to, like, I will choose to, get out for the run as opposed to shining my kitchen. Right. So, so it's like things like I will choose to prioritize having some time together. If that means like, okay, I might want to watch another episode of Netflix, but I'm going to have to turn that off because it's not a priority over this.
Yes.
So it's just looking at what are the things that you might spend a lot of time at. I think we can spend a lot of time doing stuff that's not worthy of our time.
I know.
And that's not to shame anybody for watching Netflix or for doom scrolling or whatever. But like, I think we do. And I think again, coming back to things like, the as women, like we might, this is generalizing that like we do a lot of the house stuff and want the house to look picture perfect. And like if you were to look on Instagram, everybody's house is just like immaculate all the time. Like not at all. Like my house is upside down and half the time and you're coming and going. And like, you know, I just do my best with it. But there are things that I prioritize and that is one of them. You know, that is one of them. And it's...
Yeah, I think that's actually so important because it is something I, again, hear a lot of that idea of, oh, I can't relax enough to have sex until, you know, everything's perfect. Like I've done the laundry or I've done the dishes or I've finished X, Y. Like there's so many things that have to be done. And I really try and push back on that a bit because I'm like, but you know, you're coming to me because the quality or quantity of your sex life or whatever has, you know, really like changed. So you can't just create extra time from thin air. It has to be pulled from somewhere else. It has to be. So again, and like I'd be like that. You know, I'm always kind of tidying and cleaning, like doing bits. But like there comes a point, or even as you said, Netflix, whatever it is. But there comes a point where you're like, oh yeah, but like if I take this half an hour and be intimate with my partner, the payoff of that is going to be so much more. I can come back and do the laundry later and I'll be after having an orgasm, so I'll be in great form.
In much better form.
You know?
And I suppose the questions I might ask is like, what are the mental barriers you put in place between you and that intimacy? So like, for me, is it like, I didn't change the sheets today. Oh, I'm not just out of the shower. Oh, I'm just like your mind will throw up like all sorts of reasons not to.
Exactly,
like, and that list could be a mile long. Oh, I never, you know, emptied the dishwasher. Oh, I can't settle because the kitchen isn't fully clean. Like, our mind will throw up all sorts of kind of barriers there, and we need to just be curious about what those are and what's actually at the root of that. What's it trying to protect you from? Because maybe on some level there's more, you're feeling more vulnerability about being intimate. So your brain would be like, don't go there. Instead, go into the dishwasher, go and clean the kitchen because you can't have sex anyways until you do all the jobs. So hang out doing all that stuff. You know, keeps
you in that comfort zone.
Keeps your nervous system safe essentially. Because
exactly.
It is, because it can be vulnerable. Of course it can.
100%. I think if you find yourself in that mindset of that, again, your brain is finding reasons not to have sex or confirming, you know, really just try and like stop, you know, you with these thought processes, not that you can completely stop them, but stop in its tracks for a minute and ask, okay, but what are the reasons to have sex? What are the reasons, you know, and just playing around with it, just seeing what comes up if you frame the question differently. Because you might find over time, if you're enjoying sex more, there's less pressure, you're thinking about it in a more positive light, your brain might actually find more reasons to have it. You might actually find like your desire increases. So look, we've tried our best. We're missing, you know, a bit of info, but look, I think some really good nuggets of information there about, I suppose, long-term relationships, sexual relationships, busy lives, all of that. Thank you so much, Sinead.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And you can find Sinead, I suppose, Intuitive Eating Ireland is probably on Instagram. Probably the best place to find you.
Best place to find me, that's where I'll be hanging out.
And I must say, I genuinely mean this, like I've said this before. I actually had to mute you before because I was so intimidated by all I'm not joking, the brilliant content you were doing. I went through a phase where I was being really hard on myself. And I had to mute several creators that I really, really like because my brain was going to like, oh, look, they're putting up this, they're putting up that. You should be doing that. And now, thankfully, I'm in a place again where I can actually just enjoy everyone's content.
But don't worry, because that's
how good it is. That's how good it is that I had to mute you.
But also, I think that about other people.
I know.
This is the thing, right? I think that about other people that are maybe in a similar field to me, and I'm like,
we all do.
Their videos are going viral and it's reaching so many people. And you know, mine, I could spend 2 hours editing something and figuring out all that because I'm used to the technology, and then you get like 10 likes, and then it's like, oh, that's a pain in the arse. But look so we all think that. That's the interesting thing. I remind myself of that all the time. I'm like, I feel like this, but I'm sure people could be looking at what I'm doing thinking
100%.
And they probably are.
We're all doing that with each other. So it's a good thing, really.
And the algorithm sucks.
Let's not even get into oh my God, it's just desperate. Anyway, so if you're kind of sick of, if you're worn, especially now in the age of Ozempic, if you're worn from the body talk and the diet culture and the endless pressures on dieting and losing weight and all of that, I really would. You obviously talk about more than that, but like so much genuine education, great education that's helped me so much on your page. So yeah,
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Head Stuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.